I am so excited to announce the release of Naviate Architecture 2025.2.0. These improvements and new features will also be available in the 2023 and 2024 updates, but I'll be showing you these updates in our 2025.2.0 version. We have two new features in this release, the Room Finishes feature and Create Area Boundary Lines feature. We also have three major improvements to our curtain wall elevations, door and window UIDs, and door window drawings. Now let's get into it and I'll show you all of these new features and improvements in action. Naviate Architecture's new Room Finish feature allows you to transfer an element's material parameters into the room finish parameters in Revit, meaning for the ceiling, wall, floor, and base finish. Additionally, you can include the total material area in the parameter and choose to write multiple elements material layers if required. This new feature is located within the Room Data dropdown. In the Room Data dropdown, you will find the Room Finishes feature. Additionally, there's also a settings that goes along with this feature. The first time you run the feature, you'll see the settings and be able to set up how you want your finishes to run. Alternatively, you can use the group dropdown and locate the room finish settings there as well. Let's take a look at a few examples. The Room Finishes feature works like the other room data features, meaning that if you pre-select a room, it'll only run on that room. If you don't have any rooms pre-selected, it'll run on all the rooms in the entire project. First, let's look at this room, for example. We can see I have more than one floor finish. I have my wall finishes and my ceiling finishes all modeled. I can then go ahead and pre-select that room. Either find the feature within the Navi Modify ribbon, or come down to my Architecture ribbon, Room Data, and Room Finishes. Because this is the first time I'm running the feature, I will be able to see the settings dialog. Here I can choose which material value to read from. I can choose name or any other parameter. Then I can choose which finish categories I want to read. For example, I don't have any base finishes modeled, so I can exclude base finish. Then I have two toggles to choose from. Apply multiple material layers to a room finish parameter and include areas and parameters. We'll leave all that on. Once I have my settings set up, click OK. And now we can see that those values were infilled for the ceiling finish, wall finish, and floor finish. We have the materials and their areas. Again, if I don't have any room selected and run it again, this time it's a one button click because all my settings are set up. To make any changes to my settings, I will now have to go to the settings in the group dropdown, but I'll just run it from the room data and it will run on all rooms in my project. And now I can select any room and see those values filled in. And that is the amazing new feature in Naviate Architecture that transfers the room finishes from the modeled elements to the room parameters. The new feature in Naviate Architecture, Create Area Boundary Lines, allows you to create area boundary lines based on different wall types before placing the areas in your area plans. These lines are placed according to the function of the wall, whether that be interior, exterior, foundation, retaining soffit, core shaft, and the placement rules that we have set out for that. You can also update these area boundary lines, ensuring all lines are created or recreated to reflect the latest wall changes. After creating the area boundary lines, you can then use Revit's functionality to place the areas. This new feature is located within the Room and Zone tools right here. And when you open it, you'll be able to add wall types. You'll notice that it reads the function, whether that be exterior, curtain wall, interior, etc., and identifies the placement rule. So for exterior walls, it's always on the inside face. For curtain walls, it's the insertion line, and for interior, it's on both sides. Once you've selected to add all the different wall types that you would like to create area boundary lines from, simply hit the Create Update button, and it will add the area boundary lines for you, as you can see here. I can then go ahead and use Revit's area tools to then add areas to my plan as needed. If I make any changes to my design, I can simply pull up the feature again and update it. And that's our new feature to create area boundary lines from wall types. One of our newer features in Naviate Architecture, the curtain wall elevations, got a few improvements. One of the improvements is that now you can use the elevation view types to create your views. In the first release of this feature, we could only use section view types. Now we can use elevation view types as well. Additionally, we corrected some misalignment in dimensioning certain curtain walls. For example, curtain walls that only have vertical mullions, only have horizontal mullions, have no mullions, or have been modified by edit profile or attach top and base. So let's take a look at a few of these examples. I can now select, for example, this curtain wall with only horizontal mullions, this curtain wall with only vertical mullions, and this curtain wall that has been modified by attaching the top to the roof. And let's take a look at creating curtain wall elevations for them. We can find the curtain wall elevation feature either from the Naviate Modify ribbon or from the main architectural ribbon. Now when I open up the feature, I can select view types for both section and elevation. I can specify templates, and the dimensioning hasn't changed, so we can set up our dimensions. And once my settings are set up, hit Create. And let's take a look at the elevations that were created. We can see our 3 elevations here. The example where the curtain wall has been modified by editing the top and base attachment. You can see all dimensions are placed. Dimensioning walls with only vertical curtain grids, and dimensioning walls with only horizontal curtain grids. And those are all the improvements to the curtain wall elevations feature. We have an improvement to both the door UIDs and windowed UIDs feature. I'll show you the example of this improvement using the door UIDs, but know that it is applied to both. You can now choose whether to include or exclude the sequential numbering when a room contains only one door or window. Let's take a look. So now I will set up my door UID with my room number and my sequential number. I'll add a divider as a prefix to my sequential number. And within the sequential numbering group, we have added this toggle to include sequential number parameter to a room single door. So if this is toggled on, it will function as it did before. I'll run it so you can see. As you can see, both doors that are in a room with multiple doors have the sequential numbering, and rooms with only one door have the sequential numbering. Now let's take a look once we turn that toggle off. This means that if there's only a single door in a room, it will ignore the sequential numbering. As you can see now when it was run, when there's only one door to a room, the sequential numbering is ignored. However, if there are multiple doors to a room, the sequential numbering is added. And that is our improvement to both the door and window UID features. And our last improvement is to both the door drawings and window drawings feature, although I'll only show you the example on the door drawings feature. We've now improved the sheet number option to align with our other Naviate Architecture features so that the sheet numbers will now increment sequentially rather than adding a value to the end of the number inputted. So now I can go to my door drawings feature and input the exact number I want the sheet to be. If this sheet number already exists, it will increment the value rather than adding a value to the end as it did previously. Let's take a look when creating our door drawings. All right, let's take a look at our sheet. Here we can see the sheet number as I inputted it. And that is our improvement to the door and window drawings. Those were all of the new feature and improvements in the 2025.2.0 release of Naviate Architecture. You're able to download these improvements for 2023, 2024, and 2025 versions from either the Naviate download page or from the My Symetri applications page. You can read more about these improvements for architecture and our other products on Naviate.com's release news.